few announcements. So sometime before our next class, I'm going to sit down and put together a list of questions for your first short paper. Okay, I'll probably have the short paper due after spring break. So it'll be like that week of March 21st to 25th. I'll probably have it due close to the end of that week. So at the end of this week, you'll have like 3 weeks to do it. So you'll have plenty of time. Um, that's my current plan for that. So, but what I'll do is I will give you guys a list of questions that you can pick from on almost all these films we've watched so far. So I'll probably give you like 10 or 15 questions. You can probably pick from one of them. So whichever movie you found most interesting. Okay, so it'll be like a 3 to 4 page analysis type paper of one of these films we've watched. So we do 2 of those. We'll do another one up in April, and then a final paper at the end. So yeah, it's hard to believe that we are already in March. We've had a good time so far this semester. It's hard to believe we're already this far in. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll get a prompt together. I'll post it to Brightspace. I'll probably set that this way we won't take away time in our class discussion. I'll probably make a little video talking you through the prompt and giving you guys writing instruction and all that type of stuff. Because even though this isn't an English class per se, it kind of is at the same time, right? Because you guys know that I'm an English person, so you guys hopefully will pick up a lot of writing techniques as well as techniques with your analysis of film. There's been a couple of days free up. I've had a couple people drop the course. So I know Alien freed up for a presentation day. So if one of you guys would rather do Alien instead of whatever other movie you chose to do, that one's now free. So just as a FYI there, in case one of you all want to switch, there's still a couple of movies left pretty close to the end of the year too. Doctor Strangelove and Monty Python and the Holy Grail are both still available too. But other than that, every day from here on out, it's going to be a presentation day. So, yeah, most of the free days, nobody picked a noir movie. So, all those days were the days we didn't have a presenter. Speaking of noir, the new Batman film comes out Friday, and this film looks like it's going to have a very film noir sort of influence. So I don't know if any of the rest of you guys in here are looking forward to that as much as I am, but it should be, if you guys decide to go watch it, it should be very illuminating after going through our film noir unit. So I'm just getting that vibe from it, just from the trailers. I don't know. Any of the rest of you guys excited for that one?
I am, but I don't know if I'm excited about what's his name playing Batman.
I think he'll be good. I think he'll be good.
Nah, I don't like the choice neither. Robert Pattinson just does not strike me as a Batman.
Yeah, he has a bad stigma against him because of the Twilight movies, right? But I think he's a pretty good actor. I've seen him in a bunch of other stuff. I think he'll pull it off. I have a hunch.
Yeah, I think if Batman is like some cocky, buff, sexy guy, I just don't. For me, he's not that.
Right. Yeah, Christian Bale's portrayal of Batman is kind of going to be a hard one to beat, right?
Taylor Lautner would have been a better Batman if they had to choose from Twilight.
I second that.
Yeah, I'll go. I'm going to go see it this weekend, so I will report back to you guys next week on my thoughts. Yeah, when it comes to comic book films, I'm a DC person and not a Marvel person. So I know that's heresy to some people, but I've always been a DC person at heart. So I see Aline. I see you're talking about Mulholland Drive again in the chat. You know that's going to be what you do all your papers on now, isn't it, Aline?
Oh no, I ain't doing that.
You're going to choose that movie for all of your papers.
I kind of liked Fargo actually because where I had to watch it for my presentation, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, that's the very last movie we're doing on the very last day of class. Also, guys, looking ahead on the day of the 24th, that'll be the day that Sonny Gooseland presents. That day, we'll have to move that day back. So we'll probably have to cut a movie later on. Because, so Sonny, your presentation will probably get moved back to the 29th. So yeah, just so you know, Sonny, I see you're here. That presentation will probably get moved to the 29th because that's the day we're doing the One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest play at Logan. So I think the play starts at 6 something. So obviously I can't have class that day. So yeah, we'll probably have to cancel that class and move that back to the following week. Okay. So I'll more on that as we get closer, but yeah, we definitely will not have class on the 24th because, like I said, I have to do that play. I hope you guys come to that play, especially since we did the film in the course. I think you guys will enjoy it. I have a very minor part. If you remember from the movie, remember the guy at the end who lets everybody into the party, Mr. Turtle. That's who I'm playing. So I'm only in the last couple of scenes, but from what I've seen of the rest of it, it looks like it's shaping up pretty good.
I'm planning to come watch. I'm wanting to come see it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to turn out really well. It's got a really good cat. We got a really good cast of people, so it should be a good time. No, Aline, I'm not going to cut Fargo. If I cut anything, it'll be one of those ones that doesn't have a presenter yet. All right, so enough with the class business. So let's go ahead and get started with our presentation then.
You want me to start now?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. It's for a few dollars more. It was made in 1965. It was directed by Sergio.
Sergio.
Yep. Popular films was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That was made in 1966. Once Upon a Time in the West, and it was made in 1968. And then A Fistful of Dollars, 1964.
He also did a very famous mobster movie too, Once Upon a Time in America. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen that one.
I haven't. Let me just keep on going down my slides. Okay. It was produced by Albert, right?
Alberto.
Yeah. Now I kept this on there. I didn't know if I should have left it or I should have just took it out. It just shows the main cast. Yeah. Clint Eastwood, Man with No Name. In 1958, Eastwood was cast as Rowdy Yates on Western series Rawhide. Rawhide. Another one was Unforgiven, 1992, was made in 1992. That was the Oscar for the Best Picture statue and a prize for directing. $1 Million Baby was made in 2004.
What other movies do you guys know? Just directed the whole class. What other movies do you guys know Clint Eastwood either acted in or directed?
God, I've seen it quite a few with Clint Eastwood, but I can't remember all the names of them. But he's in a lot of movies.
Yeah, he's in the Dirty Harry movies from the 70s. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those. Yeah, that's all. Dirty Harry is almost like a modern Western, that takes place in the modern times. But yeah, he directed all kinds of famous Westerns after his time with Sergio Leone. Pale Rider is one. Yeah, he made Pale Rider is actually a remake of Shane. If you guys are ever curious, it's a remake of Shane with Clint Eastwood playing the Shane character. But yeah, I mean, he's made and directed many movies. Yeah, just recently he made one called Cry Macho, which just came out last year, and he's like 80 something now. So very prolific actor. What about the rest of you guys? What all did any of you guys familiar with Clint besides what stuff I just named, or even stuff I did name?
My grandfather liked him. That's all I know about him.
Gran Torino is another good movie that he made. Yeah, Unforgiven, is that you got that on your slide there? That's a really good Western. I normally teach that one in this class. I decided not to this time just because I'm breaking up the monotony. But Unforgiven is an excellent film. In case you guys are ever, especially are enjoying the Western genre, Unforgiven is kind of a meditation on the violence, especially with. If you guys watch this movie, you know that violence kind of happens, right? There's not really a lot of remorse. Well, there's some remorse, but there's not really a lot of remorse or anything like that for it. Unforgiven's kind of a more realistic Western, if you guys are ever curious. But go ahead, continue on.
Lee Van Cleef, he's in For a Few Dollars More, the one we just watched. Death Rides a Horse, that was made in 1967. And Day of Anger, and that was made in 1967.
Also in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Yeah, he's in that one as well.
Is his name Gino Maria?
John John.
John.
Yeah.
Okay. He played in the Lucky, not, I don't know. How to pronounce that.
It's Italian, right?
Yeah, most of them are Italian. I've learned that. But
I
it was
believe it's Luciano.
Luciano.
and then the Mattern Affair, and then the Lee Circle Rogue,
Rouge.
I guess.
Fun fact about him, guys, he doesn't speak English. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but his lines are actually dubbed over in the film. Like if you read his lips, like his lips aren't really saying what you're hearing. Right? They kind of dub over him because he's an Italian actor. So yeah, they definitely dub his voice in here. Pretty good performance considering it's not even speaking English, right?
Are all westerns
Um,
like that? That have very like little dialogue in them?
No, this one is this one is all Sergio Leone. This is something we can talk about once we get to Jennifer's discussion questions. But Sergio Leone's got his own style, as we found out today. Not much dialogue, right? A lot of style. The music in these movies is always really intense, right? Yeah, so no, I mean this is just all Sergio Leone. He's his own breed, I guess, when it comes to being a director. Keep going here, Jennifer.
all right. Marie Kropp, she was in A Noose is Waiting for You, Trinity. It was made in 1972. The Return of Hallelujah. It was made in 1972. And another one, A Man Called a Man, and it was made in 1968. Okay. The plot was he rode in town on the train. Do I read what I wrote?
Just
Or just
yeah, just go with it. So
oh, okay.
explain the plot.
Okay. He rode in on town. He made the train stop to get off and hunt down the criminal that was wanted.
So here's Colonel Mortimer, right?
Yes.
So basically, we got two bounty hunters, right, going after Colonel Mortimer, or going after this criminal whose name is
Yes.
whose name is El Indio, right?
Yes. Want me to go to the next slide?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The setting was, it was filmed, is it Tabarnus? It was filmed in Rome. Well, it took place in Rome. and it was in a desert, in the town El Paso.
Yeah, it's supposed to be El Paso, Texas, right? But they like, as you say here, they filmed these in Italy because in the late 60s, the Western genre started to fade out. Like a lot of Westerns, like the one we just watched, Shane, a lot of those were filmed in America. Uh, they were filmed either in like up in like Montana somewhere or like Monument Valley, Utah. But in the 60s, the Italian film industry really started picking up. And they found that these movies were actually really cheap to make. But rather than going on location in America, right, you can just film movies in Spain and Italy for way cheaper. Well, the landscape out there looks about like a lot like the American West. So, especially like the more desert style, right? Last time we had the beautiful mountains and all that, the Rocky Mountains. You know, this time it's all like bleak Texas desert. So, so yeah, what'd you guys think of this? This movie's called a spaghetti western, right? Meaning that it was made in Italy and not America. And of course,
I thought that was strange when I realized that. I was like, wow, that's cool, but strange at the same time.
why do you say it's strange, Aline?
I know, because they said it was a spaghetti film. It made you think it's spaghetti, I guess.
Yeah. Now they call it spaghetti as almost a it's almost like a nasty term, right? Like, yes, Italians love spaghetti, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty. You know, that's pretty much why it's called that. It was a style. That's a term that was used to kind of put down these movies, like they were lesser than the movies that were made in America. Um, so this is really the first foreign film we watched in here. Um, but it's kind of funny that Italians thought they could do westerns better than Americans, and they kind of did, right? You know, it depends on how much you enjoy the style of this, but they did. They kind of did. They kind of pulled it off.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed this movie. It's probably one of my favorite movies we watched so far. I loved how over the top it was. It was I loved the presentation. I just loved everything about it.
Yeah, I think you described it well, Matt. Very over the top. The music is both cheesy and over the top, but also extraordinary at the same time. Um,
Yeah, especially the camera shots too, as well.
how many other movies do you guys know where they spend 5 minutes just staring each other down, and you're on the edge of your seat, right?
Probably just in Western movies. This is what I was thinking.
Yeah, even in most other westerns, like if they have think about Shane last week when Shane goes back to the bar to have the gunfight at the end. It's all very quick, fast paced. Leone drags this out, right? He has these characters stare each other down for 5 minutes, like while the watch music plays, and you're just kind of on the edge of your seat, right? You know, Leone kind of his style is very slow paced in a way. It's both slow paced and fast paced, paradoxically. But he really wants to put you in those moments.
Yeah, I really liked the movie. One of my favorite parts were actually like during the beginning. I think it might have been the first time we seen Clint Eastwood in it when he goes into that bar or whatever, and he's looking for Red, I think it was, and he shoots those three guys that come in, and then he puts the gun like kind of under his arm I really like that part. And like towards the end, like the whole movie, I was wondering what the woman was to what's his name. Like I was like,
Mm.
that guy can't be him because he killed him. I was like, so maybe it's his daughter. But finally, it was his sister. I kept wondering the whole time though, like, what is she to him? But I actually liked it, and I'm not a big Western fan, but I really liked the movie.
What I liked about it was the gun battle with the hats. I thought that was
yeah.
pretty funny. That was pretty funny. It made me laugh. The beginning to me was a little touch hard to get into, I guess. But I did keep watching and continued. The part that I did not like about this movie, which it being my first time, I did not like the woman and the baby getting killed and then her husband, and I did not like the rape of that woman because that was a real rape to me in the movie. It made it seem like a real rape, and I was like, oh god, I didn't like it. It was so disturbing.
Yeah, I think you're right to point that out, Eileen. This movie's content goes places that most ordinary Hollywood westerns wouldn't even touch, right? Which, especially with the rape, with like the whole issue with the rape, the child murder, right? You know, this the movie goes places that traditional westerns don't.
This is going to sound like a dumb question, but wasn't that like, I know like sex scenes and stuff was like very taboo, and for most part of Hollywood up to like here recently, when that rape scene seemed like extremely taboo.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to do some research on it. I'm not sure how audiences reacted to that back in the time. But yeah, I mean, even still, you don't really see a lot of scenes like that. I guess we've encountered one with history of violence. Depends if you want to classify that as a rape scene. But
I didn't really see it as a major rape because she like pulled him toward her to kiss.
right.
So I think she didn't want to, but she also did. So, and it was her husband anyway. So it didn't really look a major thing like a rape scene, but maybe a little touch, but not very much.
Right. So it's the blurred line song, right? But yeah. I mean, that's a very good question. The child murder's always been taboo in media. Um, like even today, like even if you play like video games and stuff, like if you play something like Grand Theft Auto or something, like you can like murder anybody else in a game, but you can't murder a child, right? In the game,
Yeah.
it's that kind of thing is still very taboo.
Well, I don't know if y'all's very familiar with The Walking Dead, but when I first started watching season one, in the very beginning, that little girl gets shot and it freaked me out because it was by a cop and it freaked me out and I could not get into it. And I waited about 3 months. And then finally one day it was just on AMC, and it was in like the second season and it seemed very interesting to watch. So I finally got into it and watched the whole thing from season one on. And I was like, oh my God, I don't see how I didn't want to watch this before, but I did not like the little girl getting murdered in the beginning, but she was a zombie though. So I guess he had a right.
Have any of the rest of you guys noticed like this is something that's still very taboo? It's something you don't see much. At least they do it off screen, right? They don't directly show it. So at least there's that. You hear the gunshot in the background, right?
It was still very messed up though. You just hear
Yeah.
the baby crying and crying,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you hear poof, and then it's just dead silence.
Yeah.
That part almost made me cry. I'm not
Yeah.
kidding about the baby and the woman.
Yeah, it goes to show that El Indio, that was our introduction to him in the movie, right? So that goes to show he has a real nasty side, but also kind of a remorseful side, as let's save that for the character stuff in a minute. Keep finish out your slides there for us.
Okay. The theme, the themes was finding the criminals and getting the reward cash. It was mostly, good, bad, and ugly. Mostly greed. Revenge with the colony Mortimer
Colonel.
and El Indio. I don't know how you pronounce that. And then key scenes or the Monco chimes in. And then who said I was joking?
Give us some context there. What scenes are those that you're talking about there on your slide?
I don't really remember. Want me to play them or no?
You don't have to. I was just
Okay.
I was just curious which scenes specifically it was you was talking about.
The shots was a lot of the close up was in the video in the movie, and then there was a lot of the long shots too in it, and then there was some extra close up shots. And then the audio was I really don't know how to pronounce his name.
Ennio Morricone.
It was the thrilling and imaginative audio journey that takes you straight into the heart of the movie. That's all my slides.
All right. Well, thank you for that. So you can go ahead and stop your share there if you want.
Okay, how do I do that?
Should be a button that says stop share.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, so Jennifer gave us a pretty solid introduction here to the film and the film techniques. I guess where to go from here. It's a pretty simple movie, right? It's a pretty simple movie. It's about bounty hunters chasing down this criminal, right? But we find out at the very end there's a revenge plot line there too. So revenge is oftentimes a theme done in Westerns, right? It's definitely one we will see again Thursday with the Revenant. So revenge is always usually a pretty major theme in these films.
Well, I kind of really guessed right off when he kept looking at his watch that she had to be his sister or something, because he kept looking at that watch like he was sad about it and all that. And I'm like, yeah, it's a family member. Definitely, I would think a sister.
I did like how it wasn't like an ex-love interest or something, and how they did make it like a family member, like a sister. I thought that was a really unique part of the movie, because it's always usually like, you killed my girlfriend, wife at the time, I will avenge you. They're like, no, this hits kind of even closer to home. This is family. It's my own blood and flesh there.
Yeah, they do some nice foreshadowing at the beginning of the movie, like when Colonel Mortimer sees his wanted poster, like it goes right extreme close-up shot of his eyes. Right. So you can kind of see like this is personal for him almost from the beginning. It zooms in like real close to his eyes.
Over 64 kilometers or 40 miles long. Vladimir Putin's black belt has now been revoked by
Matt,
national
mute yourself there, Matt.
Ukraine have now officially applied to become part of the European Union, and Zelensky has asked for the application.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like I said, revenge. You guys are kind of hitting on that. Um, so when it comes to plot, I didn't give you guys this movie because the plot is some um, amazing piece of writing. That's not what Sergio Leone is all about. You know, this movie is all style, right? Oftentimes, critics of Leone say he's all style and no substance, right? But I don't think that's true. But oftentimes that's a charge leveled against him. He's all style, no substance. Um, how would you guys describe this? Like I said, this is a spaghetti western. It's filmed in Italy, so the mise en scene had even been filmed in Italy changes things a bit. But how would you guys describe the style of this? What besides we know Leone does a lot of close-ups and things like that, but here's a place where we can kind of really see a director's style, right? This isn't a director who's just going through the motions, right? He's giving you his vision of this. How would you guys describe it? And did you find it good?
He is very slow paced and likes to use that to help intensity and stuff, like bring out those scenes. But sometimes it gets, I'm trying to figure out a way to word this. It ruins the point in my mind in parts. Because you knew that this was kind of like Range just by the foreshadowing, but towards the end, it kind of ruined that because it should have been like this big plot twist. And that slow pacedness and that trying like foreshadow just kind of ruined what could have been a very intense, great moment. Like, bring the Princess Bride, it's like, you killed my father, I will avenge him. It could have been like one of those great, intense moments, like, plot twist. And he kind of just that slow paced, try and intensify it just and let it burn out too quickly, in my mind.
So are you saying here, Jaden, you wish that Mortimer would have been more upfront, saying you killed my sister?
Yes. And I don't feel like they should have been as much foreshadowing at the beginning, because that kind of ruins what could have been such an amazing plot twist to my mind. Even for a Western, there's always could be a good plot twist. That's what I like about movies, really.
Yeah, during that duel scene, you're still not aware of why maybe you put it together there, but the movie never really completely spells it out for you until after that he shoots him, right? Then Colonel Mortimer is like, yeah, that's my sister, right? So go ahead, Aline. I saw you unmute.
I guess I was just thinking, I think a weird way anyway. And I was already thinking, oh, it had to be a family member. So I kind of had a feeling it was his sister, because I was like, yeah, her boyfriend was dead that he got shot. So it ain't her husband or nothing. So it had to be a sister, I thought.
I feel like that kind of ruined it. What it could have been such an intense scene, the battle scene that kind of ended the movie. Just because, just imagine how more better, for lack of better words, it could have been if you would have just been like, boom, this is the reason why I wanted to do this, this, and this. I've never been in for the money. And with that, you kind of just already pieced together the entire plot within the first half of the movie.
I enjoyed it. I'm not big on westerns, but I kind of enjoyed it. I was surprised that I did. I thought some scenes were there were even a few scenes that I kind of laughed, like, there was like a few little pieces and it would just kind of be funny, like when the one guy, when he stopped or when Monco, when he stopped and he was going upstairs and he wanted a room, and that guy was telling him, he's like, no, the rooms are all full. So then he goes upstairs and he's like, give me a minute, and he goes upstairs and then the guy just comes like flying out of there and he was leaving and stuff. But there were a few scenes like that I thought was kind of funny, which I really didn't expect, that. So that was kind of neat. but I didn't pick up that it was. I did figure just from the way that the woman looked. I did not think. Sorry, I didn't think like when I first saw that I was like, okay, and I was trying to piece together like how does all of this fit together, because at the time I did not know like the colonel, like him being after just like that guy. So then you see like this woman and this guy, and you see Orlando shoot that guy, and at first you don't see the rest of the scene, you only see him just shoot her, and then so you're like, okay, but then what happens? Like, was that his wife, or was that, like, and I didn't pick up that it was his sister until the end, and so I was kind of watching, and then it was like, then it showed like the two different, like the pocket watches and the chimes, and so I was kind of like, oh, and then after the end, and it was kind of like revealing to me, because then I was like, oh, there, and then I was like, oh, that's his sister, because I was even talking to my husband throughout the movie, and I was like, trying to just compare like maybe like his age or what he looked like, and I was like, well, he doesn't look old enough to be like her dad or anything, so I was like, I don't think he's her dad. So then I just trying, but it did not occur to me like watching the movie that it would have been his sister, because somebody said it earlier, that's usually not a part that you see. It's usually, it is my wife or it is my girlfriend or something like that. It's usually not, that's my sister. So I liked that part about it too. I don't remember who said that a minute ago, but that was something neat, because I was like, oh, I didn't even think that it could be his sister. But one of the favorite parts for me at the end, and it was kind of like, I guess, like classic Clint Eastwood, character type, but when the colonel, when he didn't have his gun, he dropped it. So then you're like, oh no, because you knew how good he was, you knew how he could handle his gun, and you knew that if he just had his gun, that other guy didn't have a chance. But he didn't even have his gun, and there would be no way that he would have time to reach down and get it and then fire at him. So, and then, Monko, he comes like out of nowhere, and he just kind of like looks at that guy, and just like real easy, just like shakes his head no. And he's just like pointing the gun at him. But it was like he shook his head no, like so easy, but it was like with such authority, or like such, I thought that I was like, oh yeah, when I was watching that, I thought that part was really good. I really enjoyed, that was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. But he just wanted to make it fair. And I think between the two of them, because they had their own like little kind of, not a duel, but they had their own like with the issue with the hats, and then they were trying to like outdo the other one. And he even told him to go, what was it? He said to go north, and he went like a different way or something like that. And he still showed up or something, like even when they went east, and he said, and he just kind of figured it out. But it was like they were trying to kind of outdo each other. And then when you were watching the movie, you were thinking that one guy wanted the money. He wanted the reward money. And they talked about the bank, and they talked about like what the rewards are, and adding it up, and this person, how much they would all be worth. And then at the end, and after you find it out, and that was another part I liked about the camera, because it showed like her picture in that watch, and it's like you can just see him, like I guess you'd say like a silhouette of him or something, like in the back. And then it was kind of like, oh, and then it was started making sense, and it was like right when it all started making sense to me, then it was like bam, oh, okay, it's his sister.
This is one of my favorite shots from the whole movie, Stacy, to build on what you just said there. This is during the duel scene, but the camera pans back to like over the shoulder. He's got the watch open, so Indio doesn't even really know what this guy's problem is, right? Besides he's a bounty hunter, so he's got the watch open, so suddenly like he kind of sees the resemblance, right? So it suddenly almost clicks for him. Like
that was what it was like for me, like when I was watching it, like I couldn't get it like earlier in the movie, and when he would open it and see the lady, and then all of a sudden when I saw that, then it was like it was all starting to like all the pieces, because I was like, well, how does he factor in with that? Like how he didn't even, and then I kept thinking maybe it was something to do with like the guy that he shot, like, and I was like, well, they don't even look like, he's blonde, and they don't even, I was like, how would that have anything to do with it? So for me, it was like, it was kind of like a click, like, oh, okay, I get it, like what's going on. And then he wasn't even worried about the reward. He wasn't in it for that. He, so I really, I like the ending, which I don't watch Westerns, but it was the ending. I kind of liked it.
But if y'all noticed that when she was laying there with that guy, he had she had a watch, and it was the same watch this man's holding right here in this picture. That's how I could tell, because when he got off the train, he was looking at his watch too when he got off the train with his horse. So that's how I figured it out. So I didn't think it was too hard for me to figure out. I don't know if y'all kind of missed where she had the watch too, because that's where the bad guy there got the watch from, was her. They had the same watch the brother and sister did. Did you get that part? Did you even notice that or anything? I noticed it right off.
That's when I figured it out. Just moving on from that, but Indigo, not Indigo. Yep. You know who I mean.
Yep.
He had to be my favorite. I know that's unpopular just because he showed such emotion. The rest of them were like, didn't really show any emotion. Him, you can see how tired he was. You could see the intensity and how much remorse he showed. I really enjoyed him just because he seemed real. He seemed like he was the villain at times, but you also could see the remorse in him. Like, I'm trying to think of a character like Loki. You can see like the bad in him because he's the god of mischief. We can also see that he was kind of made into a villain, and he has redeeming qualities. And I kind of seen of him too. I'm like, okay, this is such a complex character. I just really enjoyed him. Like the no man name guy just didn't show emotion really. He was just, they're very typical Western characters, except for him, which made me just love him. Like, okay, you're different and you just show a lot of emotion. That's why I like him. Well, that's the reason I really enjoyed him, and I liked his acting. And it really surprised me he didn't speak English, which just made it so much more interesting in my mind because he is such an amazing actor with his body and language alone.
I couldn't agree with you there more, Jaden. Like, one of the interesting things about his character is every time he does something really horrible like this, he gets high, right? Like, he kind of has to go on a drug trip, right? Every time he does something violent. So, yeah, I think that's definitely interesting. Like, here's a villain who shows a lot of remorse for what he's done. It's kind of one of those cases where he's so neck deep in his own sin, right? How does he get out of it? But he's definitely a fascinating character study.
That character made me wonder, like, what brought him into this life in the begin with. Was it always kind of like, cowboys versus the Indian type? Or was he made it a villain, or was he just one day decided to pick up crime? His character was just so complex to me. It just left me wondering and left with so many questions.
Do you think it might have been when he decided to rape the colonel's sister? That might have been his moment where he sort of crossed the line.
I think that was his breaking point, and I felt like he's like, well, I've done the worst thing imaginable, because like rape and murder, just like the two top crimes other than like children stuff. We're not even gonna go there, but in my mind, and he's like, I already crossed all these barriers. There's no point of me going back because no one's gonna ever see me again or anything like that. I'm not your typical bank like robber anymore. I'm so much worse. There's no point to come back at that point. And that just kind of broke me. Now I'm really thinking about it. I wonder if like what made him really think about this, and like how did he ever get to that point of even raping her?
Yeah, it seemed to be one of these types of stories where like he's so in love with her, but maybe she rejects him or something. So he's like, if I can't have her, no one can. It seems to be like one of those types of scenarios, which is sad, which is definitely sad in itself. Aline says he's just a creepy guy, right?
He seemed really creepy to me throughout the movie. The bad guy did. I was like, oh man, he's just horrible. I don't like him at all.
Yes, he was creepy, but he was just so complex is why I enjoyed him. He wasn't like the other characters. He actually showed emotion. The other ones are like, even when Colonel I can't remember.
Colonel,
My
yeah.
brain's yeah. Even when he got revenge for his sister, he didn't show a lot of emotion. But he did. Like he was just such an intense. I would like a movie just on his background. Like and everything he's done. I just feel that would be more interesting, more movie to me.
What made me hate him though was he killed that woman and that baby, and I felt that was totally uncalled for because they had nothing to do with what they was doing with that man, her husband. And I was like, "You jerk! You killed that woman and that baby. I should kill you." I felt like I wanted to reach to the movie and get him.
I mean, I don't know personally if the Colonel or the Man with No Name, I don't think either of them really needed to be emotional in any way. It was kind of, with their bounty hunters. I don't really think they need to show a whole lot of emotion. They're they probably wouldn't be the best bounty hunters if they got emotional all the time.
Yeah, let's watch the final duel scene. Let's do a close analysis.
I agree with you, Matthew, on that.
Yeah, let's do a close analysis of this scene because um, I would disagree with you all saying the Colonel doesn't show any emotion.
I think he does, I guess, but at the end, I think where he got his revenge, I kind of saw a tiny smile on his face at the end.
Yeah, let's break this down. So pay attention to, especially to the close-up shots. Like, see if you can kind of put yourself in the character's mind just based on the close-up shots, because this is all Sergio. This is no exposition, right? This is all visual filmmaking language that we're getting here. But pay attention to that. Pay attention to the sound, the editing. So let's do a close analysis of this. Then we'll kind of piece it together and make sense of it. So let's see here. Yeah, here we go. So pay attention, especially here to how does the movie tell you the story without telling you the story.
When the chimes end, pick up your gun. Try and shoot me, Colonel. Just try.
Bravo.
I had to give the bravo line, right? Great one-liner there, right? But what did you guys make of that? Like, especially with how he's just almost showing you what these characters are thinking through just their facial expressions.
I think he was thinking, yep, you done stuff to my sister, so I'm going to kill you, you SOB.
Right.
That's what I was thinking. He had that look on his face like, you're dead, man.
Yeah, El Indio kind of had like the look on his face like, oh, it's you. You seem to be a relative of some sort, a close relative. And his face is like, you're right. And now I'm here to take you out.
Yeah, you can kind of tell at the beginning that Colonel Mortimer's frustrated, right? He's got this far just to sort of be stopped right here, right? He can taste the revenge, but it's so far, right? You can kind of tell the frustration on his face. But then, like, you knew once Clint Eastwood came in and gave him the gun, right? You knew it was all over after that, right? You knew he wasn't going to lose.
That part where Clint Eastwood comes in, that's like the part of the movie where everybody starts like cheering and hollering,
Yep.
like in the like in the theater. As soon as he walked in and he pointed that gun, he was just like shaking his head real easy, and it was like, yeah, because you knew that he was going to go over like to help his friend. But I think you could see on Colonel's face, you could see when he dropped the gun, it was like you could see like, like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like you could see it on his face because he knew he had dropped that gun. He didn't have it in his hand. He knew how good of a gunman that he was with his gun, but he couldn't, it was out of his reach and he didn't have it. So, then when you get that part, but after Clint Eastwood, then he reaches him the gun and then he knows it's a fair fight. He just walks over and sits just like on the rock on the side, like, and he's like, okay, like kind of, and then they kind of go ahead but you can see the look on his face when he opened the pocket watch, and then it was almost like he was shocked because then he was like, and then he realized, hey, that's mine, because he pulled it out and it looked and it showed how his was missing. And so I think you could see, like some emotion on his face, like, when just like different levels of emotion, like he looked at the look of defeat when he first dropped his gun because he knew, like, oh, how am I going to get this back, just the two of us out here, I'm not going to be able to just reach over and pick it up. But I think it was just like different levels of emotion. But that part where Clint Eastwood comes out and he's just like shaking his head pointing the gun and it's just like real easy, like that's, I don't know, that was just an epic part. I really like that.
Yeah, it was pretty epic. I liked it too.
I love that too, Stacy. Just the way he just so like nonchalantly shakes his head, like, no, don't even think about it.
Because he has, I mean, I don't even watch Westerns, which I obviously know who Clint Eastwood is, but I don't watch Westerns. But I mean, it's just kind of like that stereotype, that he has of, you just don't mess with Clint Eastwood. Like whatever it is, whatever's going on, like, I mean, like he's going to come out on top or whatever. So then it's kind of like you see that part and it's like, oh, here we go. Because you don't expect him to come out. It's just between the two of them. And then he makes his appearance out and it's like, oh, okay, so here we go. And then it all started, like, you're right there at the end and it's like it was suspenseful because you were like, okay, now what, like what's going to happen, what's going to go on? And then the pieces of the puzzle kind of start adding up. And so, but yeah, that's just because he held that just that title, like you just kind of know Clint Eastwood and you see him coming out and it's like, okay.
Yeah, El Indio had a tear going down his eye at the end too, which was another interesting.
Yeah, because he knew he was dead, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you could say that he's looking death in the eye, right? But maybe some of that remorse that he felt over doing what he did too.
Honestly, don't think he had remorse. If he had remorse, he wouldn't have killed a child, man. That's how I
Right.
feel about it. I was like, oh my God, he's an evil evil man. I just want to reach to the TV and just beat him to death or something.
Jaden, you're given the sympathetic reading of El Indio, right? Did you notice this tear at the end there?
Once again, he just seems so redeemable, and I feel like he was just dealt the wrong cards and did the wrong things. He just felt like he couldn't get past it.
Right.
But you can even see in the beginning when he makes that realization, he kind of hesitates to even continue for just a split second. You can see it. Then he's like, well, I already killed his sister. Might as well end the brother too. Just end the bloodline right there.
One thing we should probably talk about real quick with regarding the Western is the idea of masculinity in the Western. One thing I haven't stressed enough yet, I think, is the Western was the first superhero movies. Right? They are the first really good action movies. Like, would you have a superhero movies today if it wasn't for the Western? We didn't get to see any movies with John Wayne, but John Wayne has always had. John Wayne gets a bad rap. I'll just say that. A lot of people make fun of him. He's actually a very good actor when he's paired with the right director. Right. But there's something to be said about like that sort of stoic masculinity in the 50s and 60s. These are men. I think you guys were talking earlier. Mortimer and Clint don't show their emotions, right? That's this type of masculinity in a nutshell, right? Cool, calm, collected, unemotional. Yeah, you guys can probably see where I'm going with this, right? You know, this isn't the talk about your feelings generation, right? You know, this was that generation who, when it come to masculinity, right? It was, you exuded it, right? You didn't talk about it, right? You exuded it. So, I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that one?
Westerns are meant for the male viewing, so that's the reason why you see kind of like the woman in the bathtub in my mind.
Right.
And like once again with showing little to emotions, they're going towards more so the male audience than there ever was the female. That's just how westerns and even the earlier starts up to here recently action movies like superhero movies are. They're always more so addressed to the male audience.
I agree with that. I think most westerns focus on men, and I also think that they focus on older men. Also, like you don't see like westerns is not like your young man going around killing and all that. It's always like middle age or like 30s and stuff like that, because that's what they're back then. You know, it was the older. Well, not older men, because I'm 30 and I'm not old. But when it was out like in the 50s and 60s, they marketed towards that middle class, that not middle class, but middle age group. And that's why I think it's the main focus. I agree with what she said.
So, Jay, are you kind of saying like these movies are almost kind of instructive on how men should behave?
Yes, it's kind of more so like the toxic masculinity, like do not show emotions, don't have feelings type of thing. Like I'm not saying this is more so all like toxic masculinity, but you kind of see that pattern, especially in the earlier westerns and action movies.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Clint Eastwood's acting style has always had that sort of stoic reserve, I guess you could say. That's the best way I can describe his acting style. He's always had that sort of persona about him in all of his films. So good. Yeah, I'm glad you guys seem to dig this one. This is the second movie in a trilogy, actually. Yeah, Jennifer told us the other two at the beginning: A Fistful of Dollars and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. If you enjoyed this movie, definitely go watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. This is this movie on steroids as, as far as style goes. Um, sometimes I kind of, with Sergio Leone movies, I interchange them. I do this one sometimes. I do The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly sometimes. And I also do Once Upon a Time in the West sometimes. You can't go wrong with either of those three. All of them are fantastic pieces of cinema. I'm a huge Sergio Leone fan. Like, I love that, his style of directing that we've been talking about. You show but not tell, right? That's it's a classic piece of writing advice. You show but don't tell. Well, that's something that has gotten kind of lost in cinema, right? Cinema is always telling us, right, more than it is showing us. And cinema as a medium should be showing rather than telling. So that's my aesthetic anyway, right? I don't really like a lot of movies that give a ton of exposition. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but Christopher Nolan's movies have always kind of driven me crazy for this reason, right? Like, I like his Batman movies, some of his other movies. I'll pick on Interstellar, right? Like, he spoon feeds us all this exposition the whole time. I'm just like, show us instead of telling us, Chris, right? So that frustrates some people, though. Some people, some people like to be told the plot, right, rather than being shown the plot. So I think you guys are kind of seeing a little bit of my tastes a little bit here, right? Mulholland Drive's another case, right, where they show and not tell. Yeah, so Aline, I'll pick on you again there, right? Your favorite movie.
Let's not go there with Mulholland Drive. Maybe, oh God, I felt like I got to turn this movie off. If I don't, I'm going to go insane.
You will always remember that movie, Aline. You will always remember it.
Oh yeah, and I'll be like, I'll never watch a movie like it again.
So Thursday's film is The Revenant. Revenant just came out a couple of years ago. It got Leonardo DiCaprio his first ever Oscar. So this is the best way I can describe The Revenant is this is a movie of man versus nature, right? This man you'll see there's some bad stuff that happens to him at the beginning, and he has to survive. So this is a survival movie in the dead of winter, right? In sort of up near Canada. So yeah, this is a man versus nature movie you guys are getting ready to watch. If you guys remember going back to like high school English, right? They talked about all the different kinds of conflict, man versus man versus nature. This is definitely a man versus nature movie. So
is it streamed on anything?
I don't think so. No, I Googled before class. I'm not seeing it on anything. We're having awful luck with that. I don't know what's going on, but almost everything I'm picking is not on streaming, it seems, this semester. Yeah, but it came out in 2015, so it's a very recent film. I know that I was telling somebody before class, Amazon, you can either pay $3.99 to rent it or $4.99 to buy it. So you got an extra buck, right? You might as well just add it to your collection. But
I don't mind renting all them movies. It's just Mulholland Drive. That was so worthless to me. I didn't like it. I hated that I even paid for that one.
Eileen, I'm going to buy you a DVD copy of it as a gag gift. So and mail it to you. So prepare yourself.
At least the rest of them didn't disappoint me, though. You know, they was pretty good, and I'm glad I got to watch movies I've never seen before. That was pretty cool to watch movies I've never seen. But Mulholland Drive, oh God, I was like, that was so worthless. I hated that movie.
Yeah, I need to buy you a DVD as a gag gift. But this movie's very recent. It's very entertaining. So I think it seems like a lot of you guys so far in the class, you've gravitated more towards more recent films. You guys kind of have the old movie. You guys kind of aren't into the old movies as much as the recent movies, I've noticed. So yeah, you guys will dig The Revenant. It's also got Tom Hardy in it, if you guys are Tom Hardy fans.
I love him.
Yeah. He's our villain in the movie. He's really good in this too.
He's one of my guy crushes.
All right, guys. So we'll see you guys next time.